lack the daring ever to be free. They shun the heights and crowd the depths and court security. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone. Cowards see but pride in singularity. Oh, never mind if men are wrong, so long as they agree. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone. Claim the power within you, ever to defy. The world may change or disappear, but truth can never die. Come, you're a man, no passive stone. Stand up and call your soul your own. Go on alone, go on alone. Banish weakness, go on alone. Go on alone, go on alone. Don't look back, just go on alone.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be sharing this time together. What's probably the most profound privilege on the planet, to spend time with others in the presence of teachings that can lead us back to what every soul seeks, which is connection with Spirit. Today is, like I said, the topics are truth and the inner kingdom. So unlike many of the services that have come previously where we've talked about behavior and how to be in the world and appropriate ways to hold ourselves outwardly, this is a very big switch because it's really not about the outer world at all, but it's a call to remember and reclaim the inner kingdom. It was a beautiful song that we started with, Truth Can Never Die. We were at Ananda Village on pilgrimage this last weekend for the Kriyaban retreat. How many here came for Sunday service where we tuned into the village? Okay, and then we had a broadcast. We had a beautiful service led by Lorna and Darshana last week, but then we tied it into what was happening globally for the Kriyaban retreat. In the service, Swami Devi and Swami Jyotish are the spiritual directors of Ananda Worldwide. They inherited that from Swami Kriyananda, where he passed on the mantle. She said, of truth, she said, truth can be seen as the purest, most essential part of our own nature. Isn't that a lovely definition? I looked up truth this morning, actually, and the dictionary said, truth, that which is true. It was a little circular, I kind of got. But that which adheres to reality, that which represents and reflects reality. But reality is so varied, and each one of us actually carries around our own little portable reality that we assert is true. And if you look back on your own life, you'll see how many times truth has changed as your opinions and understandings and scope of awareness have also changed. But the masters and the saints, they all tell us that there is an underlying truth that everything else comes from, and that is actually our essential nature. You know, we can ask the questions about what's true for us, and we can go through a litany of facts. And fact and truth are not the same thing, although facts can feel very true in the experience of them outwardly. Underlying everything, underlying every single thing, is the quality of spirit. What are some of the qualities of spirit? God is omnipresent, right? Isn't that one of the things? What does that mean? What does it mean? God is omnipresent. First of all, what's God? Shankaracharya stated of spirit, the spirit is ever existing, ever consciousness. It's ever joyful. Swami Kriyanandaji, Paramahansa Yogananda enhanced that with it's ever new. So ever conscious, ever existing, ever new joy. That is the fabric of creation. That is what's beyond creation. Think about that for a moment. And that's omnipresent. Are you, in your daily life, are we in our daily lives experiencing ever conscious, ever existing, ever new joy? If you're not, there's a distance between what you think is true, what you're committed to, and what is really true. And all of yoga is the art of removing that distance, and the science of removing that distance between what we think is true on a daily basis and what's really there. Just that simple. Not necessarily so easy, but just that simple. I was praying. We lead up to Sunday service. We kind of start to tune into the topic a week before. And actually, we've been doing this so many years, we kind of have tuned into it year after year after year because it cycles through the year. In advance, and then we start to kind of work at it as the moments get closer and closer. And we had a big work day yesterday, so we didn't have much time independent of outer activities. So I was praying this morning. I was thinking, Master, Lord, what do you want to say this morning? What is it? Give me a joke. Give me something. Help me out here. And then I remembered a story because I came in this morning and I brought my copy of The Promise of Immortality. Beautiful book. This is the deeper readings, that beautiful reading that Bharati did from Rays of the One Light. This is expanded, and it's only 6 months worth. The second half Swami never got to, but it's profound. It's beautiful. I brought in my copy, but I don't like to bring the books in because often they don't get home again, and then I don't have them for reference for weeks at a time. So I didn't bring it in. I looked to see if there was, in fact, a book this morning in our library that I could reference, and there was. And you know what I found in it? They say, so this is where the story comes from. They say that good writers borrow from others. Great writers steal outright. And the joke is that there was a assistant minister and the minister of a church, and the day before Sunday service, the assistant minister was asked by the minister to give the first service. And he looked at him and said, "But I'm not prepared. What will I do?" And the minister just smiled and he said, "God will provide," right? Very smugly. And so the day went through, and the assistant minister, he was kind of new at this, and he was panicked desperately. And as he was leaving the church, he saw a piece of paper kind of blowing, some papers blowing, and he went over and he picked them up because he was tidying up the church grounds. And he looked down, and they were the Sunday service notes for the minister for the next day. So he got up in the morning, and he walked over, and he gave the early service, but he gave the minister's service. And the minister looked at him afterwards aghast. He said, "What did you do?" He said, now I don't have a service." And the assistant minister just looked at him and said, "God will provide." So I came in and I found a story and a joke. And the story is actually I'll use a different version, but basically, how do we find our way back into this profound state from whence we came, and wherein all satisfactions, everything we're looking for, can be found? Where do we, from joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. How do we melt back into that joy? How do we reclaim that inner kingdom? How do we reclaim that as our reality? And then how do we, if we still have karma left that keeps us in this world, how do we live so that we never lose that? So the metaphor that goes is that Yogananda asked somebody who was confused about how to do it, because the restlessness of the mind is what keeps us from experiencing what's always there. And he had the person go and get a clear glass of water, and then he took and spooned in 3 tablespoons of dirt and stirred it vigorously. And he said, "What do you see?" And the response was, "I see a muddy glass of water." And then he just sat there for a while and stopped stirring, of course, and just watched. And what happened across time, of course, was that the stirring, the agitation slowed down. And as it slowed down, he said, "Now what do you see?" And he said, "I can see individual particles. I can see individual things swirling around." And they waited some more. And before long, what happened was all of the dirt settled out and the water was clear again. And that's really what happens for us. You know, the masters and Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda, they have given us the tools of meditation, which is to become still. As the Bible says, be still and know. They've given us the tools to become still. But what happens is, you know, we've been agitating the glass of water of our own consciousness and, you know, stirring dirt into it and all kinds of things that don't really belong in there. And when we sit to meditate, that's just going around and around and around and around. And all we feel is this kind of this muddy swirl of stuff going on. And then if you practice Hong Sa, if you practice the teachings of meditation with deep concentration, what happens is it starts to slow down. We stop agitating. And the water of our mind starts to slow down. And then what happens, and I get a lot of this when people are talking about their meditations, "Oh, but the thoughts really start up once I start meditating." No, the thoughts were agitated before. What happens is as the mind slows down, you start to be able to see individual thoughts that are already swirling. It's a sign, it's a good sign, because it means that the mind is beginning to slow down enough you can actually identify different parts of it. And if you can continue to be still, if you can hang in there a little longer, what happens is all of those thoughts just settle out, they precipitate out, and what's left is just the clear, limpid state of consciousness that is our natural state. Be still and know, says the Bible. Okay. The second is, you know, what do we do? This is the joke. I'm going to steal this joke. I've got a joke that goes with it. But the joke is a Buddhist called the monastery and said, "I need a service. Can you come and perform it for me?" And the monk said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm busy." And the question was, "Well, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm doing nothing." And so they hung up, and the next day, the Buddhist called back, and he said, "Hello, I still need the ceremony served. Can you come and perform it for me?" And the monk said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm busy." And he said, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm doing nothing." And the man said, "That's what you were doing yesterday." And the monk said, "Yes, but I'm not done yet." And then, of course, the Zen line on that is the little monk is sitting there and his master comes up and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm not doing anything." And the master says, "Oh, so you're doing nothing." And the little monk looks up and says, "No, sir, I'm not doing anything." Because even doing nothing is still doing. What we're trying to do is we're trying to enter a state of living from inside, from in contact with that deep, profound inner stillness. And we have to be willing to go on alone, no matter what. Claim the power within us to go on alone, no matter what. In that inner state, nobody gets there as a group. We can support each other in going into the stillness. But when you go into that stillness, it is you, your spine, your aspirations, your yearning for wholeness and truth, your yearning for love and joy, and the power of your yearning to go past the gradual stilling of the mind until we can perceive, and the heart, until we can perceive what's always there. And then in that state we discover we're all connected. But we're not connected outwardly. We're connected deeply in that stillness. I want to read just a little bit of this. This is from Promise of Immortality, the expanded readings. There is the eternal spiritual pilgrimage of which outward pilgrimage is a symbol. And there is also the inner universe, which in many ways is like the outer one. Paramhansa Yogananda once said, surprisingly, that the sun is a symbol of the spiritual eye in the forehead. Think about that. That the sun is a symbol of something that we all carry with us inwardly, instead of vice versa. His statement suggests persuasively that the outer universe too is but a symbol of the inner one, rather than the reverse. That astrology is a symbol of the inner movements of energy around the spine, rather than the other way around, and that the planets and constellations are symbols of more real, or at least more immediate, mental and spiritual characteristics in oneself. Had we more time, I would keep going, but I have something we'd like to share. Everything we're looking for, everything we're aspiring to, everything that brought you into this room culminates in contact with that inner kingdom. The capacity to influence this world in a positive way. The capacity to have the experiences of joy and love. To feel peace. To know a growing sense of power from inside out. All of it, every bit of it, starts from inside, from that divine contact. From going into gradually deeper and deeper states until we hit Samadhi. And because most of us haven't spent much time there, Yogananda wrote a beautiful poem that describes that inner state. And then Swami Kriyananda read it and put it to powerful supportive music. And so rather than talking anymore this morning, I thought what we would do is we would listen to that reading. So sit up straight. Feel a receptive awakening inside of you. Feel your energy lifted to the point between the eyebrows, the point of divine contact. And try and feel, not for the state as something external, but try and remember the state as your own reality out of which everything has ever come. Stay receptive and inward. Thank you.
Vanished the veils of light and shade. Lifted every vapor of sorrow. Sailed away all dawns of fleeting joy. Gone the dim sensory mirage. Love, hate, health, disease, life, death. Perished these false shadows on the screen of duality. Waves of laughter, sillas of sarcasm, melancholic whirlpools, melting in the vast sea of bliss. The storm of Maya stilled by magic wand of intuition deep. The universe, forgotten dream, subconsciously lurks, ready to invade my newly wakened memory divine. I live without the cosmic shadow, but it is not bereft of me. As the sea exists without the waves, but they breathe not without the sea. Dreams, wakings, states of deep turiya, sleep, present, past, future no more for me, but ever present, all flowing, I, everywhere. Planets, stars, stardust, earth, volcanic bursts of doomsday cataclysms, creation's molding furnace, glaciers of silent X-rays, burning electron floods, thoughts of all men, past, present, to come. Every blade of grass, myself, mankind, each particle of universal dust, anger, greed, good, bad, salvation, lust, I swallowed, transmuted all into a vast ocean of blood of my own one being. Smoldering joy, oft puffed by meditation, blinding my tearful eyes. Burst into immortal flames of bliss, consumed my tears, my frame, my all. Thou art I am thou, knowing, knower, known as one. Tranquilled, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace. Enjoyable beyond imagination of expectancy, Samadhi bliss, not an unconscious state, or mental chloroform without willful return. Samadhi but extends my conscious realm beyond limits of the mortal frame to farthest boundary of eternity, where I, the cosmic sea, watch the little ego floating in me. The sparrow, each grain of sand fall not without my sight. All space floats like an iceberg in my mental sea. Colossal container I of all things made. By deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. Mobile murmurs of atoms are heard. The dark earth, mountains, vales, lo, molten liquid. Flowing seas change into vapors of nebulae. Om blows upon vapors, opening wondrously their veils. Oceans stand revealed, shining electrons, till at last sound of the cosmic drum vanish the grosser lights into eternal rays of all-pervading bliss. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. Ocean of mind, I drink all creation's waves. 4 veils of solid, liquid, vapor, light, lift aright. Myself in everything enters the great myself. Gone forever fitful, flickering shadows of mortal memory. Spotless is my mental sky, below, ahead, and high above. Eternity and I, one united ray, a tiny bubble of laughter. I am become the sea of mirth itself.
weak is craven, life to the cowardly is dreaming. Oh, my saint, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Leave to the weak his grace.